What if your worst nightmares were only the beginning? Imagine a world where the cursed videotape of The Ring harbors a horror far more sinister than the ghostly Samara Morgan. Dive into Nightmares in the Ring, where the boundaries of reality and dreams blur, and two of the most terrifying entities in horror collide. Freddy Krueger, the master of nightmares, has found a way to twist Samara's curse into his own playground of terror. Are you brave enough to listen to Rachel Keller's desperate struggle to save her son and herself from a fate worse than death? Brace yourself for a tale where fear has no boundaries and nightmares are just the beginning.
Welcome to my home.
Nightmares in the Ring, Freddy Meets Samara. Chapter 1, Unseen Forces. Rachel Keller sat at her desk, staring at the cursed videotape that had brought so much horror into her life. The grainy label stared back at her, a stark reminder, the darkness she had barely escaped. It had been months since she had encountered the vengeful spirit of Samara Morgan, and she had thought the nightmare was finally over. But strange things had been happening again. People were reporting bizarre, violent dreams, and some had even disappeared without a trace. That night, as Rachel sat alone in her apartment, she received a call. The voice on the other end was frantic, a young woman babbling about nightmares and a man with knives for fingers. He came into my dreams, the woman stammered. Man with knives for fingers. He was there, with Samara. They were both there. Before Rachel could ask more, the line went dead. She glanced at the videotape on her desk and felt a chill run down her spine. Could it be that Samara's curse had evolved? Had it found a new harbinger of horror? Chapter 2, New Nightmares. Miles away, in a dilapidated house on the outskirts of town, a group of teenagers sat around a TV, daring each other to watch the cursed tape. The air was thick with the scent of must and fear. They had heard the stories but were eager to prove their bravery. As the screen flickered with static, a sinister figure appeared, Samara, crawling out of the well. But this time, something was different. Behind her, another figure emerged from the darkness, Freddy Krueger. The teens screamed as Freddy's razor-sharp claws gleamed in the dim light. His laughter, a chilling sound, echoed through the room. "Welcome to my nightmare," growled, slashing through the air as Samara's ghostly form flickered and twisted. Freddy had found a new playground for his terror, and Samara's curse had become his entry point. As the night wore on, teenagers were plunged into a nightmare they couldn't escape. Freddy and Samara worked in horrifying tandem, their combined powers creating a realm where fear reigned supreme. One by one, the teens fell victim to their terror, their screams lost in the shadows of the night. Chapter 3, Rachel's Investigation. Rachel, driven by a sense of duty and fear for her son, Aiden, began to investigate the new report. She interviewed survivors who described horrendous visions of Freddy Krueger hunting them in their dreams. Each account was eerily similar to the stories she had heard about Samara, but with a new, more malevolent twist. The merging of their horrors created something far worse than either alone. Her investigation led her to a psychiatric hospital where she met a young woman named Emily, same one who had called her. Emily's eyes were hollow, her skin pale. She recounted a dream where Freddy had taunted her with Samara's tape, forcing her to watch it repeatedly. Each viewing pulled her deeper into his nightmare world, where the boundaries between dreams and reality blurred. Emily's voice trembled as she spoke. "He enjoys it, you know. He enjoys watching us suffer. And Samara, she feeds off our fear." Rachel knew she had to act quickly. The convergence of Freddy and Samara's powers was creating a nightmare that could consume the world. She needed help. She knew exactly who to turn to. Chapter 4, Allies in Fear. Rachel sought out Nancy Thompson, one of the few people known to have survived Freddy's wrath. Nancy had spent years studying dream manipulation and had developed techniques to combat Freddy's control. The scars of her battles with Freddy were etched into her face, but her resolve was unbroken. "Rachel, you're dealing with something far worse than you can imagine," Nancy said, her voice steady despite the terror she must have felt. "Freddy is a predator, but he's found a way to amplify his power through Samara's curse. We need to fight fire with fire." With Nancy's help, Rachel learned to navigate the dreamscape. They devised a plan to use the cursed tape as bait to lure Freddy into a trap. Rachel recorded a new version of the tape, embedding a subconscious command within it, trigger that would give her control within the dream. Chapter 5. Into the Abyss. Rachel and Nancy fell asleep, entering the dream world armed with their knowledge and determination. They found themselves in a nightmarish version of the well from Samara's tape, dark and foreboding. The air was thick with tension as Freddy emerged, his laughter echoing around them. Rachel played the modified tape, and as Samara's image flickered on the screen, Freddy lunged. But Rachel was ready. She activated the command, and the dreamscape began to shift. The well transformed into a fortress of mirrors, each one reflecting Freddy's horrid visage back at him. Freddy howled in rage, slashing at the mirrors, but his claws passed through them harmlessly. Rachel and Nancy seized the moment, combining their wills to trap Freddy within the reflective labyrinth. The mirrors closed in, sealing him inside. Chapter 6. The Final Stand. But the battle was far from over. Samara's presence was still palpable, her curse still lingering in the shadows. As Rachel and Nancy tried to wake up, they found themselves pulled back into the dreamscape, face to face with Samara. Her eyes, filled with eternal hatred, bore into them. Nancy took a step forward, her voice firm. "Samara, you're a victim of your own curse. Let us help you break free." Samara's scream was deafening, a sound of pure anguish and rage. The well began to crumble, the ground beneath them shaking violently. Rachel and Nancy fought to maintain their footing as the dreamscape twisted around them. In a desperate bid, Rachel held out the cursed tape. "This is the source of your pain, Samara. Destroy it, and you can be free." Samara hesitated, her ghostly form flickering. Freddy's influence had twisted her curse, but there was still a part of her that longed for release. With a final, heart-wrenching scream, she reached out and shattered the tape. Chapter 7. Aftermath. Rachel and Nancy awoke, exhausted but triumphant. Reports of violent dreams ceased, and the cursed tape lost its power. Rachel destroyed the last remaining copy, determined to end the cycle of horror once and for all. As she hugged Aiden tightly, Rachel couldn't help but glance at the now broken TV. She knew that evil could never truly be destroyed, but for now, the nightmare was over. Freddy and Samara were trapped in their own eternal battle. Fitting end for two of the most malevolent spirits to ever exist. In the shadows, however, a faint laugh echoed, a reminder that in the world of nightmares, nothing is ever truly over. Rachel returned to her daily life. The scars of her ordeal remained. She dedicated herself to helping others who had been touched by the supernatural, determined to prevent anyone else from suffering the same fate. Nancy, too, continued her work, ever vigilant against the return of Freddy Krueger. Epilogue. The Eternal Battle. In the dreamscape, Freddy and Samara faced each other, locked in an eternal struggle. Freddy's laughter echoed through the void, his claws glinting in the darkness. "You think you can defeat me, girl? I am eternal." Samara's eyes burned with a fierce determination. "Your reign of terror ends here, Freddy. This is my domain now." As their battle raged on, the dreamscape itself began to fracture, their combined powers tearing at the fabric of reality. In the end, it was not about winning or losing, but about the perpetual clash of nightmares, testament to the darkness that exists within us all. And so, the tale of Freddy Krueger and Samara Morgan became a legend, a story whispered among those who dared to dream. For in the world of nightmares, fear has no boundaries, and the battle between good and evil is never truly over. If you enjoyed this spine-chilling tale, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more terrifying stories. Leave a comment below with your thoughts or your own scary experiences, and don't forget to check out our next video, where we delve into another horror classic. Stay tuned, stay scared, and keep the nightmares alive.